Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. I apologize for the sun in the background. I've tried everything I could try before I started doing the video to fade it out a little bit, and it didn't work. The only thing left to do is to scoot right up in the camera, but then all you would see is my chin, so I'm not going to do that. But you know by now how good looking I am, so regardless of the sun being in the background behind me, I'm still the same good looking man you've come to know and love. But on to today's video. We're going to be talking about some of the NBA trade deadline deals. I'm not going to talk about all of them because some of them I don't think are really going to help either team. So they're not even worth talking about. But I'm going to talk about all the ones that I think will benefit at least one of the teams involved in the trade. The one everybody is talking about, of course, is the one between the 76ers and the Nets. The only player the 76ers got is James Harden. The Nets picked up Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, and Andre Drummond, along with some draft picks. Now, I understand why the trade happened, because James Harden wanted out of Brooklyn and Ben Simmons wanted out of Philadelphia. So, from that perspective, I understand it. I think it will benefit the Nets because Andre Drummond is a phenomenal rebounder. That's what he's known for. And Seth Curry is actually a really dependable, really good player. He doesn't shoot threes like his brother does, so he doesn't get enough recognition. But Seth Curry is a guy you can depend on just about to give you 10 points every game, and he's pretty much going to play every game. Hopefully they can get something, anything from Ben Simmons besides missing free throws all the time and not shooting threes worth a darn. But it may benefit the 76ers some, but I don't think it's going to help them much because we know by now, I've said for a long time, and I'll keep saying it, James Harden's name should be James Harden because there's no D in Harden. He never attempts to even play defense. He might play defense one possession a quarter, and that's about it. But he did want out. But from the Daryl Morey perspective, who is the general manager of the 76ers, him and James Harden have a history of knowing each other because Daryl Morey used to be the general manager of the Houston Rockets. So that's where him and James Harden know each other. But the Rockets had a much better roster than the 76ers do. And the Rockets couldn't even reach the NBA Finals. So if Daryl Morey had James Harden one time with a better roster and couldn't do anything with him, I have no idea why he wants to try him again, and he'll do nothing with him. But now Joel Embiid is a good player, but I just think James Harden's going to go out there and give you 30-plus points, 10-plus rebounds, 10-plus assists about every game, except for when it matters, and he's not going to play any defense. But Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant and James Harden were supposed to be a great trio in Brooklyn, and they played together a grand total of 16 times, which is about 1/5 of a full season. Another trade was a trade between the Dallas Mavericks and the Washington Wizards, and I think it will benefit the Dallas Mavericks because they got rid of Kristaps Porzingis, who for whatever reason is a franchise killer. He's a good player, but you just constantly hear bad stories about Kristaps Porzingis being a bad teammate. So Dallas did the right thing, getting rid of him. He goes to the Wizards along with the draft pick, and the Mavericks pick up Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans. Another trade was a trade between the Boston Celtics and the Houston Rockets. The Rockets pick up Dennis Schroeder, Enes Freedom, and Bruno Fernando, and the Celtics pick up Daniel Theus in a four-team multiplayer trade from yesterday. The Bucks picked up Serge Ibaka. The Clippers pick up Rodney Hood, Semi Ojeleye, and Vanja Marinkovic. The Kings pick up Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Jackson, and Trey Lyles. And the Pistons picked up Marvin Bagley III, and that will definitely help the Pistons. I understand why they made that trade because they are extremely, extremely young. And Marvin Bagley III is also young, but he is a little bit older and a little more experienced than the rest of the players on their roster. So this will definitely benefit the Pistons, and I think the Bucks will definitely upgrade with getting Serge Ibaka. And then we have my New Orleans Pelicans. They made a trade picking up C.J. McCollum from the Portland Trailblazers, along with Larry Nance Jr. and Tony Snell. And the Blazers picked up Josh Hart, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Tomas Satoransky, and Didi Louzada. And then the Blazers turned right around and made another trade and got rid of Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Tomas Satoransky. Now, the Blazers need to decide what they're going to do because they got rid of their old coach, Terry Stotts, and said they were going to do a complete rebuild, but yet they refused to trade Damian Lillard. At one time, Damian Lillard was asking for a trade, but then all the reports made it sound like he was a terrible person, so he backtracked and said, I'm fine being here, but he wasn't asking for a trade because he doesn't like Portland. He was asking for a trade because they've been stuck in mediocrity for about a decade now, and they don't show any signs of trying to improve and getting out of mediocrity. And CJ McCollum is actually a really good player, so trading him is another sign that Portland is rebuilding, but yet they're keeping Damian Lillard. You can't get stuck in the middle. You've either got to rebuild or you don't. If you're going to rebuild, you might as well trade Damian Lillard, because what's the point in keeping Damian Lillard when he has nothing else around him? So you either got to rebuild or you don't. So I feel bad for Damian Lillard because he's pretty much in Portland now with a bunch of misfits. That team has no chance at all. And I'm glad the Pelicans picked up C.J. McCollum because C.J. McCollum is actually a really good two-guard. And if Zion Williamson ever decides to come back and play basketball again, they've actually got a pretty good trio now with Brandon Ingram and C.J. McCollum and Zion Williamson. But now you're 55 games into the season, and Zion Williamson is still not played. And they've shown no signs of him playing this year. And there's really no point in him playing this year because you're 11 games under 500. You're not making the playoffs. So what's the point in bringing Zion back now for nothing? So I don't think you'll see Zion play this year, but he's always been kind of a chunky fella. So hopefully he can get back in playing shape for next year. Otherwise, he's going to become the modern-day Greg Oden. And if you're a longtime basketball follower, you may remember that Greg Oden came out of Ohio State and he averaged maybe 12 points and 10 rebounds a game. He was a double-double machine, but he was barely a double-double machine. They made like he averaged 75 points and 35 rebounds a game, and he didn't. He averaged around 11 or 12 points and about 10 rebounds every game. But when he came out of college, Greg Oden's going to be the next big thing. And he played about 20 games, and he was out of the league because he couldn't stay healthy. If Zion Williamson is not careful, he's going to be going down that same path that Greg Oden went down, because it seems like every single day Zion Williamson is hurt with something. But I'm glad that Ben Simmons got traded, because ever since about the middle of December, there's been a rumor going around that Ben Simmons could possibly go to New Orleans, and I was thinking, oh no, please don't let him go to the Pelicans. I don't want another player that's going to go out there that can't shoot threes and can't make free throws. And Ben Simmons has been playing basketball 15 years, and he still can't make threes and can't shoot free throws. If you've been playing this long and you can't make free throws and can't shoot threes, ain't nothing going to change. So when I seen that Ben Simmons got traded to Brooklyn, I was like, oh, thank God he's not going to New Orleans. I would rather win 10 games a year, and that's it, than have Ben Simmons on my basketball team. The last trade we'll talk about is the Hawks and the Knicks. The Hawks pick up Kevin Knox, and the Knicks pick up Cam Reddish and Solomon Hill. And just like Portland, the Hawks need to decide what they're going to do. Are you going to rebuild or are you not? They made like they were heading in the right direction. They even gave Nate McMillan that good contract to remain their head coach, and now they've run out and traded Cam Reddish. If you want to have a roster that you're going to be good with for the foreseeable future, you should want Cam Reddish on your team. But they got rid of him and they got Kevin Knox. I don't really think he's going to make a difference for them. But now they've got Trae Young and a bunch of decent players at best. I thought the Hawks' future looked bright. Now I'm not so sure. So now I feel bad for Nate McMillan, because now if they don't turn it around and they do continue this deciphering whether or not we want to rebuild or not rebuild, then it's going to make Nate McMillan look like a failure as a head coach. But there's nothing you can do about it when your higher ups are stuck in between rebuilding or not rebuilding. Any thoughts on any of the trades? Please feel free to let me know. Of course, the NBA is getting close to All-Star Weekend, which they call the halfway point of the season, but it's way past the halfway point of the season. By the time they have the All-Star break and come back, there's only going to be about 25 games to go in the regular season. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. Did you hear about the racing snail who got rid of his shell? He thought it would make him faster, but it just made him sluggish. And that wraps it up for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.